Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Welcome. So today is the third day of Kwanzaa in terms of my practice. The reality is that it is actually Wednesday the 29th, so it is not technically the third day of Kwanzaa, it's the fourth. Yesterday I was at my parents' house. I went Monday night or Monday afternoon and thought I would just come back Tuesday morning. But it really, I don't know, I think all the stuff happening with the variant and everything really kind of left all four of us or all three of us kind of feeling like, wow, this is scary. How we just don't know what's going to happen next, right? So it was more important to just stay and spend a bit more time. So I was there until sort of late evening. And I had a gut feeling like, wow, I should really take my deck with me. But I'm so attached to my space here at home and the way that I work with it and use it that I really didn't feel like trying to transport my whole space over there in a way. And I also just I really did not think I'd be spending that much time there. So, yeah, but again, flexibility and adaptability, and I don't know. I've never been so aware of how precious my elders are, my parents, my family members who are my elders. They're more precious than they've ever been, and I'm so grateful they're still alive. Honestly, I'm just so grateful they've made it this far, and are doing this well. So yeah, it's just important. So I'm a day behind. And that happened last year too. Sometimes it's hard to keep up with every single day of a challenge like this, or a practice like this. But I also feel it's important to be honest and straightforward about where you are, and to maintain the commitment as well. So that's where we are. So today, for the third day of Kwanzaa, is UJIMA. UJIMA. And UJIMA is collective work and responsibility. UJIMA. So the spread today, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all focused on the self, right? What do I do? Then 5, 6, and 7, 5 and 6 for sure, look at other, right? What do other people see? And then 7 is your area for growth, right? Very interesting. And I just looked at this and realized, seeing this, I think that was what I got for 2019 as well. Interesting. All right, so the first prompt, and of course, just like the last few days, oops, there went my book. Just as I did with the last few days, the prompts will be in the description box below. So, you'll be able to get the prompts if you wanted to work with this on your own or work with it next year, or just be able to see what those prompts are as I work, and talk about them. But the first card here that we have is the first prompt, which is how I help to build my community. And in this case, we have the 6 of Staffs, or the 6 of Wands, which is really quite victorious and, exciting and pretty awesome. That one, I'm always confused, guys. I'll be honest, I'm always like, what does that mean? I don't get it. Because I'm if it's for someone else, I see it immediately. If it's for me, I'm just dumb. I'm usually dumb-stricken a little bit. Sometimes I'm not. There were a few cards in this spread where I immediately knew exactly what I needed to see and what I needed to take from it. It's a movable feast for Nat when I'm reading for myself. It just always is. I'm way too introspective and way too serious, and there we go. But when I look at what Courtney has written, and she, as always, writes beautifully, and, this is... When I work with this deck, when I may understand exactly what's being said or what's being communicated by the cards, but I always want to go back and read what Courtney wrote, because I find it so helpful. I mean, not all deck creators are that talented with writing, and Courtney is. So she writes that the awakened qualities of the Six of Staffs are achievement, honors, leadership, optimism, and stability. So when I look at like how I help to build my community, whether it's, here online or whether it is within, within the doula community that I'm a part of, the Doula Collective, or the, I guess when I say online community, it's really just the tarot community. That's the only online community I really am deeply involved in any way that's significant. But also, when I think too about the community that I've helped to build and build up at work, right, in my day job. So, the community that I have with all of our patients and practitioners, it would seem that they very much feel that a great way that I contribute to the building of the community is through that optimism, leadership, and stability. I mean, I don't know what honors would be, because I don't know that I bring any honors to anything necessarily. But it's a very, it's an interesting thing. Something else that Courtney writes in here that I found interesting. She writes, let's see. She writes about initiation. So, in the Five of Staffs, we push through the obstacles of a rigorous initiation to receive the skill and knowledge required to evolve into a higher state. As we move into the Six of Staffs, we see it all culminate into our success. We emerge victorious with more wisdom and knowledge to continue on our path. It's a time of great accomplishment, and we should be proud of the new, more mature person we've become. We can ignite fireworks and celebrate with everyone who supported us through on our journey. So, that, I think, too, is just a recognition that I've been through some stuff, and it has offered me something, or given me something that I have to offer in terms of, again, leadership, optimism, etc., the stability, the ability to see things from a different perspective. Yeah. So that one was not super hard to read, but I mean, again, I'm always just like, what? Well, but once I got hold of that one, the next three were a lot easier and more straightforward for, to integrate and put together. Seven of Staffs was how I contribute to the collective effort. Again, the Seven of Staffs, you see, the ability to hold one's own ground, to remain stable, to remain calm when things become really messed up. And I guess, yeah, the last couple of years have definitely put us all to task on that level. I'd like to think that even when I was a director in the theater and a teacher in theater, I was able to do a certain amount. I think these are sort of glossy. They are. It's hard to see because I don't have my big bright lights on, because it's not quite as dark as it has been the last few days. But yeah, let's see, what do we have? The awakened qualities: courage, responsibility, advantage, perseverance, and defense. I will persevere. I do take a lot of responsibility. I frequently take responsibility in areas where I really shouldn't necessarily do that. I don't know. It's left over from childhood, right? People are upset. Somebody needs to take responsibility in order for this to be resolved. I don't really care. I'll just take responsibility for this so that everybody can move forward. Not necessarily one of my best attributes as a human being. Certainly a very costly, it can be very costly. But as I've become more and more mature, I'm less inclined to be a martyr or scapegoat. I'm much more likely to push back, tell people where to stick it when that comes up. I mean, it's not a way I like to put things, but there are moments where that is really necessary, and it's the only language, it's a skillful means of doing it because it's the only way some people will understand. You know, there's skillful means that help you in terms of looking good, because other people who are wise or intelligent might think, oh, that was a very intelligent way of putting XYZ. But if it doesn't get the point across, and the person on the receiving end of that communication doesn't understand, how effective was it? You know, how well did it really work? And I would argue in that kind of a situation, it just isn't skillful because it doesn't communicate what's intended. So, so sometimes you do have to tell people where to stick it. I mean, literally, that really sometimes has to happen because it's all that's left. And I hate it. I never like to be that way, but it's sometimes necessary. It's rare, but it is known to happen. More often than not, you know, I defend, you know, defending was, defense and perseverance, you know, and courage and so forth. I'm the first person when people walk in the door of our practice, you know, I'm the first person they see. So frequently they come in without a mask on, which drives me up a wall because it's not protecting everyone there or respecting their right to work in a space or visit a space that's safe. So, but I don't usually come at it, you know, really hard. I'm very gentle but very firm about just, you know, immediately like saying, "Oh, hi, welcome, good to see you. Come on in. You're gonna have to put on a mask before you walk through the door. We really have to have that. Thank you so much. That's great." Or, you know, they often say, "Oh, but I'm vaccinated." Yeah, I understand. No, we're all vaccinated here too. And we still need you to put a mask on because a lot of our patients are vulnerable. You know, those kinds of things are frequently very necessary, and I just don't have any fear of it. I've really lost a lot of fear of just telling people how things are, but without it being personal, if that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, so where were we again? Yeah, contributing to the collective effort. So it's, I guess, taking the skills and abilities and things that I've learned through various stages of initiation into different kinds of things and situations and phases of life, and applying them fearlessly. You know, or courageously, taking responsibility for myself, you know, persevering and being ready to defend what's right. So, yeah. The dormant qualities: daunted, retreat, inferiority, cowardice, passivity. When I'm really in a low place, those are the things that come up. Those are definitely the things that come up. And they're the things that then prevent me from being able to hold that role with any kind of confidence. So, I don't know. When I look at things from a collective point of view, it makes me want to be a better person because then I have something to offer others. And that tends to motivate me into wanting to be better. Yeah. So there we go. There is the first two. The third prompt: how I help others with problem solving. Now, this is why I am sticking with the same deck, I think, this time. I did it the first year. The first year I used one deck only, and it was really insightful. Last year I wanted to use all the decks that I have that have any roots in African American background. And it was good, but it took away from the ability to connect the cards, you know, from one spread to the next, which has actually become, I've discovered, a really important part of this practice, you know, is being able to overlap and see where things connect. So this is where I see a very, very big connection. First of all, it's the Two of Blades. So the Two of Blades came up as my highest aspiration the other day. And I think it's very impactful for me to see this pop up in this position as well. So how I help others with problem solving is through my own spiritual practice and my groundedness within it. Okay, which also, as I read that, really motivates me to want to be better again within my own practice, so that it really is beneficial to others. And by taking that position, it allows for the ability to see things with some impartiality, with balance, with reason, reason informed by compassion in the heart, and towards a space where the ego is not invested in the outcome of the problem solving, but rather the spirit or the soul, and the purity of that is what's required and what's useful, if that makes any sense. Yeah, because again, this let's see, that's a blade, so I mark the pages, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, probably here. Is it this one? Yeah, 2 of blades. Here we go. Yeah, I got my little bookmarks here at the top this time. Yeah, so mental balance, neutrality, compromise, truce, and objectivity. Yeah. So, I like to problem solve or help people problem solve through a space that is unbiased, less through my own opinion about how the problem should be solved, and more through a bigger perspective of looking at every aspect of it, if that makes sense. So I really value that as an insight. It plays into my strengths and what I really want more than anything, is that objectivity and ability to see things with as great a clarity as possible, so that it can actually be helpful or useful to others, right? Yeah, and then we have the 2 of coins for number 4, how I nurture and teach younger people. Before ever reading anything here, what I see is me making the attempt to embody, right? And be transparent about what I'm embodying. Like, look, this is me trying to balance things out, and sometimes I'm good at it, and sometimes I'm not. And when I really suck at it, here's what I do, and here's what happens. So what can we learn from what I just did? Oh, wow, let's see. We could learn this, and we could learn this, and what do I need to do that's helpful in terms of being better at? Oh, yeah, you're right. I could do this and this. Yeah, that's what I see there, is through embodying and being willing to balance what I do and find a balance to what I do. Literally and figuratively, and transparently. How do I embody who and what I am? And I feel like that makes a really good companion to the 2 of blades. This being the reason, or the rationale, and then this being like walking the talk. Really doing my best to be who that is, understanding that sometimes I get the balance right and sometimes I knock things out of balance, and then being honest about it. Yeah. So, there you go. 2 of coins there for that one. That one, I didn't need the book as much for that one, because that one, the message was right. It was immediate. It was just so immediate. This next one, it was less so. So the second half gets a little heavier. How others perceive my community efforts. This is complex for me. The Hermit is the answer to that. Yeah, the Hermit. How others perceive my community efforts. So I'm going to say this could range from feeling like I abandon efforts in the community in order to be self-serving. That was the first thing that popped to mind. Again, I tend to be very hard on myself, like we all are. I fear sometimes that I'm perceived as being that way because I often need to retreat in order to know anything. The collective view of things, the collective experience of things, even just one other person's really powerful, strong opinion about something can be enough to kind of throw me off center for a minute. And because I take it in so thoroughly and I want to understand it, right? So in order to do that and then reconcile it against what I actually think and believe as an empathic person, I often have to retreat and get away from things and put my head right. if I'm not really disciplined about how I do that, I will tend to run away more and more and more, because the lack of discipline means that my energies will scatter a lot more easily, which is unhelpful. Very unhelpful. Now, that said, when I went to the book, which for this one was really very necessary, where are we? We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. The book says awakened quality, self-discovery, awareness, contemplation, meditation, and of course, dormant loneliness, immaturity, exile, and haste. That's what I mean in part 2 by, scattering my own energies and just not being as focused when I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's harder to be disciplined, right? So, now what she actually says here, how others perceive my community efforts. The emerging one has gone through quite the journey so far, transforming and absorbing many identities along the way, which is interesting because I've been an actor and then held so many different types of jobs. And braving the trials and obstacles of asserting themselves in the world. Now it's time for the most challenging energy, the hermit. In this space, they must remember the fearless and inquisitive nature of their birth and harness that same energy to emerge into their inner world. Yeah, the emerging one came into this world with the gift of spiritual sight through the receptor of the third eye, which is a guiding connection to source. This same receptor guides the hermit through the treacherous mountains to reach their higher self. All that is unnecessary is left behind. They leave behind the comforts of the external world, logic, and tangibility to search for those things that are unseen. The baton is passed to the hermit to complete the circle, bringing internal harmony and completion. Yeah. This card urges us to step forward fearlessly, knowing that the protective and loving ancestral energies and spirit guides light the path to the holy grail of soul fulfillment and understanding. The hermit is a great reminder to take time for communion with the self and ancestors. Those who have crossed over can help us see the path when we find the dark too overwhelming. Yeah. During this part of the journey, we will also build a trust with the self and the community that lies within. Yeah. So, just as we bravely step across the threshold into the world, never truly knowing what the day may bring, we must also do the same in spirit. It's so true. God, that's good. So, I mean, I could also say that by the same token, while there may be some who see me as being self-indulgent, and willing to just abandon ship anytime I feel like I need to, there equally are probably those who would say that, well, the way that she's contributing is by doing that, by taking that time alone in order to be able, to come back and offer something that is a little bit more rational, fair, reasonable, and it isn't being guided by the ego so much as spirit, right? Or the true self, the higher self. Yeah. So that's a good one in terms of just, I can't please everybody. Not everybody's going to understand why that's necessary. I don't know what to say about that. But it is for me. It is for me. And again, I'm always grateful when people can see and understand that. Then we have how others perceive my level of responsibility. Again, very mixed, very mixed. We have young Gord again. And young Gord came up on day 1, I believe. And, well, I remember what young Gord came up in response to, and it was about the way I speak up for myself. I think that was the first day. So, the way I speak up on my own behalf or speak for myself, I compared it with it was maybe it was the day before. Maybe it was the second day. Doesn't matter. It was self-determination. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Because the young gourd is, I mean, is it's basically the Knight of Cups, right? So there are some for whom the level of compassion and almost like a childlike enthusiasm about it, and the deep willingness to offer it and so forth, um, is going to seem pretty responsible, and for others it will not seem quite so responsible. It will seem to be immature or naive, um, and therefore perhaps unhelpful, or insincere. But the truth is, again, why would I speak up for myself from this place when I could be speaking up for myself from the place of Mama Gourd, right? From that level of depth. So again, there may be a big, not a detachment, but what's the word I want? Incongruence between the kind of responsibility I feel or perceive and the kind of responsibility that others perceive. Yeah, so that's something to look at always. And then finally, an area of personal growth in my community efforts. What the hell? What the hell? It's the death card. Yeah, this is my card for the year, interestingly. It's my card for the year. So I'm entering into a death year in 2022. Not something I'm thrilled about, really. But what do you do? I don't know. I mean, it's been helpful to hear other people talk about the death card, and use use words like change and finding change and responding to change, recognizing what needs to change and then changing it, raking over something that's dead and is good compost for new things to grow. I think that was something that came up in one of Candy's videos recently about where she was casting charms over her cards. I mean, that those are all very helpful. I think too, being willing to transform, being willing to shed the old in favor of the new and what's necessary, um, and do it without any apology. That's just the process of things. It's just the process of things. Things that are no longer necessary die out, and then when they do, something new grows, from the fertile compost of what's left. So yeah, that's the area of growth in community efforts, to let go of what's not working, be willing to shed old ways of doing things in favor of allowing new things to come up. So maybe dropping things that have not, that are just not useful to the community anymore in favor of trying something different. Yeah. Probably being willing to be authentic about that along the way is also helpful, given the type of community this is. I could also see how, in specifically my doula practice, being willing to ditch things that are unhelpful, like not taking on work that I have no interest in anymore, or that I realize is beyond my scope and I don't want to take it on anymore. But being honest and telling my collective about, like, hey, these are some things that are coming up that I don't, I can't help with. Is there anybody who'd be willing to help with it? Or here's how I've changed my practice, or some decisions I've made about changing my practice and defining it differently. I think in terms of work, I need to go in and have a very frank conversation with my partners at work and discuss what is and isn't working for me in terms of being able to do my best for the practice. in order to transform and be able to provide more, you know, for the community as a whole. So, yeah, beautiful. This practice every year just yields the most remarkable, insightful information. So I'm so grateful once again to Queen Osset and Veronica Rose for their insights and their willingness to share it and offer it so freely to everyone. So, yeah. All right, everyone. I'll see you again tomorrow. And in the meantime, take care. If you're seeing this and you're still watching, today is actually day 4. It's today's actually day 4, which should be UJIMA, which is about cooperative economics. I'm a day behind. Maybe I will combine days today in order to catch up, but I think I'll probably just keep it as is. Yeah. All right, friends. See you soon. Take care, and I'll be back with the next one. Bye-bye.